Yeah, it also counts. As long as you've opened it, you've like clicked around. Okay, that's good. Then okay, so let me just do the setup so I can get back to in and
Michael, you're okay with the mic?
okay. Do you notice anything?
You are tall, that's why.
No worries.
Maybe you could lean on top of your.
But I can hold it, right?
You can if you want.
That's
If
more because I like moving around.
So you just push it.
Okay.
My grip strength is not that good because.
Ah,
But what I
let's see.
recommend, folks, a lot of time people forget. So. Okay.
I also need your help. So if you think I'm forgetting to keep it close, someone can signal me, right? So we can make this all work fine. Right. Just want to check if people on this end are also. I'm going to move around a bit so that it's interactive. And okay, good. The second question I have is, so I see that a lot of us already use Power BI, so that's good. The second question is, I'm going to demo something called Git integration. Interestingly, there's another community I sent the topic to, and the organizer was like, I don't know what CI/CD is, I don't know what Git is, you know what? I'm going to refer you to another community. So I want to get a feel of how many of us are familiar with the concept of CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. So, oh, good. So I can go straight into what I have. But if you think you want me to do a bit of small talk about that, I can compress a small explanation, but I think the audience I have today are perfect for what I want to demonstrate. It's going to be a demo. All right, so special thanks to all our sponsors, and special thanks to TDPC, and I'm going to especially also thank Iponka. Without his encouragement, I probably wouldn't be here in front of you. So this is my topic, right? Power BI is integration, and you see it's a demo, end-to-end demo. So not much of talking, a lot of doing. And I want us to make it interactive. You will smile. I'm going to make you smile in the second slide. So be prepared to smile. Why are we all so serious? Okay, this is a joke, but it's also the reality. The fact that as a data analyst, anyone deal with data, so I call everyone from the data analyst to BI to AI, data scientists, you're all data analysts. You're just operating at different spectrum or trying to specialize. You have to have this important skill of being able to extrapolate, see what's not there in data, and maybe sometimes make it happen, because that's when businesses want us. They are trying to achieve a goal, and they are not there yet. So you are supposed to see that ahead and show them the path to achieving the goal they want to achieve. Okay, so a little, more, not a little, a lot about me, but I'll make it very short, and that's why I decided to put everything on the slide you can read before I start to talk about it. I have 12 years in this field, mostly as a consultant, and as you can see, I'll skip the next two because if I don't have that, I don't think the podcast will have given me the chance. So I used to run a consulting company. I tell you, end of month, because I run payroll once a month, end of the month, and my people used to go. Those were the topics, and tax people used to pursue me up and down that I had the company registered in 3 countries. So I'm just trying to point out the part that I find interesting in my profile. And I moved to Canada this year. I'm less than 1 year in Canada. Okay. All right. I like motorcycling, and Canada is expensive. Toronto is like super expensive. If I tell you the size of where I stay, 628 square feet. And what they are charging, almost 3,000 per month. I'm like, how can one ever spend on anything else apart from housing? Okay, so let's start to the core aspect of what we want to do. Previously, in Power BI, I told you I'm going to move around a lot to help you do some bit of exercise. That's my screen. So previously, as a Power BI, I'm using previously, but for some of you, this might still be your current usage scenario. You've got the Power BI developer, so you see my slide on the team of developer. Nowadays, no company hires one person to do all their Power BI, but 5 years ago, it used to be one person. Since you're making progress, right? So the issue right now is there's no genuine collaboration. So you have a team, and you can have different teams and then Power BI developers within teams. But let's talk about specifically the Power BI developer folks in the business supporting role of core IT. You find out that they don't really truly collaborate. I do my reports on my local PC, it's isolated, whatever I do is sitting there. If I lose that PC that day, it's all gone, right? Then when I've finished making the report with Power BI desktop, I push it up, I publish it. If your company is smart a bit about it, you could use SharePoint to achieve some kind of a source control and versioning. But effectively, you are going to publish it to Power BI in a kind of isolated way, let me put it that way, right? And then you put it into a workspace. That's until when it's in a workspace is when my other colleagues can begin to do some kind of collaboration, right? So all the collaboration starts and sadly kind of ends in workspace. And it's not the truth, so there's no CICD, okay? Now, which is what I want to demo. Just go press it on mine. Oh, it's not that the PC is stuck. All right, so now it's possible, and that's what I want to demonstrate. So we're going to do this together, right? I'm going to stop moving around and stay here. So we are going to use 4 tools, but you can use 3 tools. We're going to use Power BI, both the desktop and the service. And we're going to use, what's the next one? What's that one right beside the Power BI, the hopper, right of that box, those 4 ones? The second one, anyone? The brown one, let me use the color. So in case if you're not getting what I'm describing. That icon stands for what? Anyone? Yeah, you can. Yes. But if I had known it was you, I would have gone here. You have just seen it's an insider. Okay, so yes, Azure repo, part of the Azure DevOps. We are going to need Azure repo, specifically Azure repo. We're going to use one of the tools in the Azure DevOps suite of products, but the repo specifically we are going to use. Unfortunately, that's the only one that currently works with the Git implementation in Power BI. Then we're going to use Visual Studio Code. It's the recommended tool to use. You can use any other editor, you can use Notepad, but we will use that. It makes life easy for us. And the optional one is the last one. Anybody wants to mention what that stands for, that icon? Yes, sir. Yes, GitHub, but then anybody wants to say which one is much, like there's a software, you can download that. This is the icon for that software. Yes. Okay, so I can do more of the demo part. I'll answer GitHub Desktop. So if you install GitHub Desktop, again, life becomes easier. So I'm going to use those 4 products, but you can use the first 3. Okay, and with that, we are going to achieve this demo time. I'm going to come back to the slide later. I have some other technical things, but let's go to the demo. Okay, I'm looking at time. I've got 40 something more minutes for the demo. So at this point, I might just sit still, use both hands. So what I have done is I'm going to show you the end. Then we're going to start all over afresh. Okay, so this is the end. Like when I say the end, not end, like the end I want to show you. And I've created a workspace. I have a report in the workspace. I have this report specifically in the workspace, which I'm going to, like I said, I'm showing you the end. I have a report that is in the workspace. Forget about what's in this report, it's not important. It is more about the concept. Now you see that I have source control, right? And if I make a change, so let's look at this report. Currently, there are 2 report pages, right? So I'm going to go on Power BI service. This is where I am. I think I need to zoom my screen. It's tiny, right? I have it set to the size that works on my home monitor. So I'm going to just quickly, all my keyboard shortcuts are not working. Minimize everything. Have open. I'm not one of the very organized kinds of people. If you see the bottom of my laptop, you see the task panel. It's a complement switch. So okay, I go to display settings and I'm going to increase the zoom so that you will not start wearing glasses if you are not already wearing one. I'm going to, make it, let's do 250. That should make it much bigger now, right? All those many things I have open are now beginning to resize themselves, and it's supposed to ask me for confirmation so it doesn't revert. Maybe it doesn't. Okay, well, I think this is better, right? Right? So I'm going back to the end. So, yes, I'm going to open this in Power BI service. I'm going to delete the second. I'll delete the second report page. I intend to use just 5 minutes for this, so I'm watching my time. If I begin to take longer, I will cut it short. So I'm going to delete this, and I click on edit. I right click on this, or just click the cancel icon, and I'm deleting that second page. And I'm going to save it. So I am saving it. Now, because I've increased the zoom, I'll start hunting for a service somewhere around here. Yes, thank you. Okay, see, I said if we work together, this will be good. You help me, and hopefully I help you to show you something new. I've saved it, right? I go back here to my workspace. Now we're going to patiently wait just some seconds. I might help it by refreshing. You should notice it say there are uncommitted changes. My source control should light up with an icon of something to happen, right? See, it's detected one change. Okay, I'm going to push it. All of this is the end. I'm going to show us how we will start afresh. I'm going to delete the entire workspace, delete everything. So I just want you to see, so that when we're doing that arduous task of starting afresh, you will know where we're getting to. So I'm going to commit the change. When I was doing this at home yesterday, it was faster than when I did it 40 minutes ago. So I don't know if it's Toronto traffic. Okay, I think this. So that is done. I'm going to now. Have you ever changed something on the Power BI service and see the effect straight on your desktop without having to go re-download from the Power BI service? You're shaking your head sideways. Now you will start to shake your head, up and down because it's possible, right? I'm going to close this. And remember, I told you I have visuals. In fact, let's use the easy one, the one where you see everything highly illustrated. So this is the GitHub window. I will tell it to fetch. It's going to detect that there is something new, right? I'll tell it to pull the updates. Okay, so now I will go to my project folder, my Power BI on my local machine. And I'm going to open, I will explain all of this, but I will open the report. Let's use that word. I'm going to open the report. So it's going to launch. And you're going to see that that second page is gone. So we've made a change on the Power BI service without me re-downloading or going to export. I am going to see the change instantly. So let's see. Sorry, I did the wrong one. I'm going to, when I say I did the wrong one, the one I'm connected to is the one on the Visual Studio Code, and I didn't update that. So let's do that. I'm going to go to the Git. So, going to fetch, going to sync. So you see that I didn't fetch for this particular environment. So now it's syncing. Then I can reopen the project, the Power BI report. It's called a project now, but let's still use the same terminology we are familiar with. Okay. So it's opening. Okay, let's see. Can you see that that one is gone, right? The second page is gone. Okay, so that's interesting. What about I do something here and I don't publish and I see it happen upstream? Okay, so let's try that. By the way, every time you do this Git way of syncing the files, you have to always refresh for it to pull the data. So I'll explain that later, how I have 2 more minutes to do this part. Okay. All right, so that I'm going to cancel this because I have 2 minutes. And if I finish this, the data will populate. You'll see the chart. You've seen the chart before, so that is nothing special about that. I'm going to delete some tables here. You see this demo table, right? I will right click and say I don't want it anymore in my model. I delete it from the model. So this is something that should be obvious, when we go look in the Power BI service, if really that is gone. So I will save this. I don't even need to close it, just that I save it is enough, right? Now to prove that, the table is here. This is the Power BI service. The table is there, right? Okay, so I'm going to go to Visual Studio Code. And I'm going to commit the change, right? See? So I'm going to commit the change. Shouldn't take this long. Okay. Okay, once this happens, I'm going to start the demo immediately because I'm not getting worried that if the part that depends on internet is taking long, I might struggle to
Oh, actually, it's optional. Yeah, let's add added into because it's already working. This part here, where you see which part? Okay. I'm going to stop what's happening right now. Accept commit message. Okay, so okay, I'm gonna just because it's not actually letting me type anymore in it. So oh okay. Oh, I get what you're saying now. I'm used much more to the other one, but great. So what did we do? We deleted demo. Okay, deleted demo table. Okay, so thanks. Okay, that was the blocker. Okay, so we are going to go back here to the workspace, and I'm going to, again, it takes, no, I need to push it here. That's the problem when you switch tools in between them. But no problem. This is easier. Before I was using the GitHub this thing. So I'm going to, what did you say? I think you are an expert with this particular part. Yeah. Oh, great. Okay. So my issue is I don't usually use Visual Studio Code. So this is what is forcing me to use it for this particular aspect. I use Tabular Editor and other tools. So let's see if that has happened. Alternatively, I can switch to the, see, I'm going to just refresh this. I was hoping for a status update where it tells me it's done, right? Let's just check the history. Let's go check here. Okay, yeah, it's done actually. So you can see that it's noticed that I've made updates, and then it's telling me there are 2 changes that is detected at the Azure repo part. I'm going to just effect the changes, make the update, and when this is done, we should see demo table no longer visible here. And then we can start from scratch. And what will happen is I'm going to maybe stop using the Visual Studio Code as my primary tool. I will use the one I use much more when I'm working. So that I don't, at least it will be much more seamless. Okay, so I'm going to just monitor this if this is done. It's updating. So it says it's synced, and okay, now it's truly synced. If I go here, you see the demo table is there, right? If I refresh, I should not see the demo table there anymore. Okay, go to edit, and it's gone, right? So you've seen the key goal, the fact that I no longer need to publish. Okay, so let's start afresh. I'm going to go to workspaces. I will delete this workspace. Delete the workspace. In fact, it's faster to just go here, workspace settings, remove this workspace, take out everything that's there. So, okay. I'm also going to, remember I said there are 4 tools that we will use, right? The second tool is what? Anyone remembers? Azure repo. Okay, so now this thing is blocking my view. I have it open. Anyway, I'm going to type it again, dev.azure, and let's pick this. Okay. I'm going to delete whatever I've created so that I'll recreate it, and you will see the process of doing this afresh. So I go to organization settings, I go to projects, I take off this project. So I want it to be something that we can easily recognize. So I'm calling it SQL Saturday. And that's what I'll recreate again so that it will be unique. And also I won't forget what I use it for. So this is the second tool. There's a third tool, Visual Studio Code, right? I already have it installed, so I don't need to do anything. What I will just do is maybe I'll close it so that it will be a case of it's closed. I have installed it, but it's closed, right? And there's a third one, right? Power BI, no, GitHub Desktop. I mean, the fourth one. The GitHub Desktop is optional. For someone like him, he probably wouldn't need it. For me, I find it easier. I like the way it lists out the history. I'm more used to it than using the Visual Studio Code for because I use other tools, and Visual Studio Code we only monitor, the Git there we only monitor the ones and coding with the Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to show us how to do this. So I'm going to just leave it. Step number one is you go on Power BI itself. We're going to create a workspace for what we want to do, okay? I'm going to create a workspace, then I'll explain to you two things that needs to happen. So I'm going to call this workspace SQL Saturday, right? If you have any question, please ask, and hopefully I'll be able to answer without slowing down, okay? I'm not going to put any description. The fewer the things that are optional that I do, the better. So this is one important thing you have to factor in. It must be either Fabric or Premium. So that's the actual way to explain it. If you pick Pro, it's not going to work. Pro is now like I don't know, Pro is what the free used to be. That's the best way to explain it. Nowadays, if you work within an organization, Pro is now almost like what someone who is learning Power BI needs. Then when you are working, you have to be in some kind of premium capacity. So Pro will not work for this. A lot of what will enable collaborations and performance tuning become accessible when you're on a higher level than Pro. So Pro will not work. You can enable trial, as I'm doing now. I'm doing Fabric trial. The trial you're seeing is Fabric trial. That will work. Or any of the premium capacity license will work. So I'm going to do this one, right? And that's the really important thing you need to ensure at this part when you're creating the workspace. So let's wait for it to be created. So that's number one important thing to do. The second thing is I'm going to go to the workspace settings, okay? The good thing is all of what I'm doing, you don't need to memorize them. As long as you pay attention, you can always like check online and you will see any part that, you get stuck, you will instantly know what it is that you need to do. But let's go straight to what you need to change. We've already done this where we picked trial. If you picked the wrong one, you can come here to switch your options. We're not going to do anything on the Azure connection, so I'm not going to talk about this. I don't even know too much than what I've done there. We're not going to do anything here. I don't even think you can change anything here. This is the main one to make some settings change. So the moment you are here, it will detect if you have an Azure repo account, if you have an Azure DevOps account, and it will instantly connect to all the organizations your account can access. So in my own case, I have a demo account called Your BizEdge, so I'm picking it. Then it's going to go in and search for all the projects that are there. Now you will see that this is a project that I have. I'm not intending to use this project for this demo. So I'm going to pause here and go back to Azure repo, Azure DevOps, and create the project that I want to use for this demo. So I'm going to create a new project. Okay. I'm going to call it the same name so that it's easy for me to keep track of all I'm using for this demo because I intend to delete them after. So I'm not going to type in the description, make it private. for Power BI, you should always make it private. You don't want any of your reports to be accessible publicly. Okay, so that's something super important. For this, we're going to leave it at, this is the only option you should pick anyway. But for this, I'm going to leave it at basic. If my Scrum Master was here, maybe it can help, you know, if I choose something else. But if I choose something else and I get stuck, I'm in trouble. So I'm going to leave it in basic. Basic is, like, you know, what is easy for people who are not experts on Azure DevOps. Okay, so we have done this. I'm going to go back to the Power BI. So I'm going to go back here, reselect the account. It's going to refresh and see that I now have a project that I can access. Then when I come here, it's going to also show that I have a SQL Server. So this part, I wanted to show us, let me see if I can do that. Okay, I will show us one other thing you need to do, right? We've created a project. With a project, there comes a default repository, but there are no branches accessible, okay? So if I come in back here and I click on the project, we are going to see that we have things we can access. I need the repo, so I'm going to go straight to repo. And you will see the repo is empty, okay? So I'm going to do something to make things easy for me. I'm going to tell it to initialize a main branch so that we can get going with the demo, right? So I'm going to click, I'm showing us this because most likely it will also happen for you that you might get here and not be able to continue until you create a branch that it can access, because right now there are no branches in our project, okay? So I'm going to go back to the repo itself, and I'm going to tell it to just initialize a main branch for me. Okay, so with this, I can go back to Power BI and just maybe cycle through the selections again to force it to refresh. And now it should detect that I have a branch I can access. Okay, so to again make things easy, no, not to make things easy, to make things organized, you would want to create a folder specifically for Power BI, because if you're going to use this thing properly, other team members who are not working with Power BI should be able to also collaborate with you and probably in that same project. So I'm going to tell Power BI that it should put all of what we are using in this workspace into a Git folder called Power BI. Once I click connect and sync, it will tell me that the folder does not exist. Do I want to create the folder? Please go ahead and create the folder. That's what I need. Okay, so right now we are done with the Power BI service setup. Okay, any question, anything you want me to do again, or any part you think you missed looking at the time? All right, so we are done with this one. There's something, if I have time, I will show you there's a problem you might face that might require a settings change here. It's related to geographical settings. You need to be on the same geography. You know, the way Azure is done by regions, you need to be on the same region for you to connect by default, for you to connect your Power BI workspace to the Azure DevOps. So that's the default. So if you are not on the same region, the DevOps account is not on the same region, then you will have to come to settings, go to admin portal, and then enable, let me just go to Git search by, then enable this particular one that says geography, this one. It's disabled by default. So just know if you face an error that says, oh, you can't connect because of geography, you will get that keyword region. Just know this is the setting you need to amend. All right, so with that, we are good with what we've done here. I'm going to now, so we now have a repo. How are we going to now, by default, what we've done, Power BI workspace and the repo can communicate. What is missing right now is my local machine. How am I going to allow it to also, you know, communicate with the repo? So that's the part of the local Git setup. So I'm going to show you the two tools, how to set up the two tools. The Visual Studio Code is the easiest. All you have to do is, so I'm going to refresh it because the folder will have been created. All right. I'll go into the folder. I'll come here. I'll say I want to clone. So once I click clone, I will see that I can copy out the URL, which I will show us how to use. And Microsoft is making things easy. You can directly clone into Visual Studio Code without having to do extra steps. So I'll hit this and click open. It will launch Visual Studio Code. Okay, so see. Good, I was expecting this. So it's going to ask me to pick a folder locally that's going to keep in sync with the Azure repo. Okay, I'm going to, let me pick somewhere. Let me create a new folder and call it demo. Call it SQL Saturday. That way. All right. So I select the repository local, the destination, the folder I wanted to make this sync with. It's taking some seconds. It's going to, maybe I didn't click. Okay, so should I go straight into the folder now? Yes. It's going to be empty for now. There's nothing really there. Okay. So this is the step for Visual Studio Code. For this other one, the steps is a bit elaborate, but for me, I prefer to use that. Like not really prefer because one is superior to the other. I'm more familiar with using that. Let's put it that way. So I'm also going to show you how to set up for this, right? To set up for this, you go to, and this is similar to if you want to set up in any other anything different from Visual Studio Code. Only Visual Studio Code gets that native integration with Azure repo, at least that particular kind. So I'm going to say I want to clone a repository. I'm not going to pick github.com or GitHub Enterprise. I will say I'm going to clone it using a URL. Then I go back to Azure repo, and that's what this URL is for. I'm going to copy it, go back here, paste. Okay, then I'm going to choose the local folder. So the trick is, or the rule is, I can't use the one I've used for something else. I can't have two different repos using the same folder. So I'm going to just do what we did, create a demo. Let me just drop this. Okay, so we are making good progress. Take a look at the time. I don't want there to be a space. Yeah. So I'm selecting that folder and doing OK. Now, when I hit clone, it's going to give me an error. It's supposed to give me an error. So it gave me an error. You didn't see the error. So let's do it that way. So yes, it's going to give you an error when you do it the first time. Because I think I created the project with the same name, it kept the token. So there's a step you need to do where you need to go to personal access token and create a token. Maybe that's what I would do. I would disable the token I've created. So that way you will see it, because like I'm going to revoke this. Okay, good. So we will do that step again, right? The problem now is I have to use a different folder. No problem. I'm going to go back. I think I still have it in memory. So just go here. Clone repository, put that same. We'll choose a different folder now. I'll call it demo tools. New folder. Demo. Okay. So this is what I want. I don't want it to miss anything. So it's going to ask me to provide a username and a password. Naturally, you would think it's your username to your DevOps account, right? And your password. You are half correct. Username is going to be, yes, your username. I'll type in my username. But password is not the password that you expect it to be. It's not. It's expecting a personal access token. So you need to go here. If you put your password, it's going to error out. So that's the easiest way to know that something is wrong. So maybe to help you remember that I said you need to create a token. Creating a token is always you go where the easiest is to click on these user settings. You see personal access token, and then we're going to create a new token. You can call it anything. So I'll keep with this pattern of using SQL Saturday. I'm going to say it should be 30 days, but if you are doing this as a project, you want to make it longer than the duration of your project. Otherwise, one day there will be error and you forget that you set your token to be 30 days. I'll give you full access because it's a demo. By the way, this thing will not work after 30 days if I don't delete it before then. Then you copy this, you go here, and that will be your password. So that's the minor difference compared to, like, if you didn't know this, then you struggle there a bit and go online and eventually figure it. So I'm going to say retry and no more errors. It's going to now do what we're expecting. So now I've shown us how to set up everything. So the fun part begins, right? So we're going to create a report. Okay, we're going to repurpose a report because I can't create a report from scratch with the minutes I have. So I'm going to go within my local folders and look for, okay, great. I still have the original. We're all familiar with this type of report, right? This is the usual thing. We have a PBIX file, right? So nobody is confused about how to create a PBIX file. This is the default way your report saves. So I'm going to open this and we are going to assume that we built this together. It's open. Okay, it's open. I also have another report I was planning to use, but this one takes longer to refresh. So I don't want to use it. I want to use something that will be quicker to refresh. But this one is more interesting. It's got a lot of very, something financially related, a lot of nice technical analysis and fun things, but unfortunately, I won't use it. So we together have created this report. Is anybody confused about how we created this report? So, in another dimension where we had more time, we opened an empty Excel, an empty Power BI, and then we put a logo, and then we put a slicer, and then we put a line graph, we put another slicer, we put a third slicer, we put a column chart, and then we came back to this dimension. So now we've created it, right? Good. How do we make this to become what I showed us? One of the steps is the usual one where you are done with the report, you hit publish. Yes, save. I didn't make any change. Save. Okay. I pick my workspace. What's the name of the workspace we created? Anyone remember? SQL Saturday, yes. So I select the workspace. Currently, the workspace is empty. Wait, it's empty. We just created it afresh. We deleted the previous one I used for the demo. So it's empty. When this is done, then yeah, it's now populated. And now you're beginning to see the end that I started from, right? So you can see that source control is monitoring this. The Git is monitoring and giving us a status. I'm going to say, yes, this is my initial publish. Initial. Publish. I'm going to commit the change. I'm going too fast. But I would have wanted you to see. How do I track this thing away? I would have wanted you to see. Oops. Where's the, yeah. So, well, I can see shows. You remember we created this, right? And we created a repo, right? And we told so great. You can see that our Power BI folder, which is what we told Power BI Git to sync with, right? It's instantly being populated now. I wanted to show you the previous state, but I think you can remember that it must have been empty before until we published this. So now it's now populated with the data, but this report is not in the usual way we expect reports to be. It was a PBIX file, remember, right? Now it's become a folder. It's become a project. If you're used to software development, it's now a solution folder, like a project folder that has entities that are linked together. So this is what makes it possible. The fact that you now begin to work with a solutions folder. And then how can I do what I told us, where if I make a change in the Power BI on the repo or Power BI service, my change will reflect here without me publishing. Then it means I no longer use this. So this is now at its end of life. It's only used maybe for the initial report building. It's no longer useful for me going forward if I'm using this CI/CD, Git approach. So I'm going to close this and never go back to it. And I will go to the folder, or maybe easier, just go straight to here and see. I'm going to refresh. I need to pull, to fetch. Keep forgetting this sequence. So fetch and sync. Okay, so this now becomes my primary way of working on my local PC, on my development PC. I'm no longer going to open a PBIX file anymore. Okay, so I think it's done. And then we will see that we have this. Okay, looking at time. So from here, you can pick up everything again. You see, we can change stuff. So let's begin to make changes. I'm going to go, before I make changes, let's quickly explain what you are seeing. I have to be creative. Okay, so this is what you are seeing right now. You are seeing two folders. There is a data set folder that's got some items. I'm going to try to explain as much as possible. And then there is another folder called report. So let's start from important to maybe less important. The most important one in terms of actions you will take is this definition PBIR.PBIR. So that is now the replacement of your PBIX, which means if I want to launch the report locally, I will go to that folder and I will launch that .PBIR. So I'm going to go to the folder. I have it here. I could have gone straight from Visual Studio Code. I will just keep on. Okay, so I have it. I think I called it SQL Saturday Demo. Okay. Okay, so this is again what you are seeing. And back to what I was pointing out, this is the most important file if you follow my approach of sequence of steps. So this is what I'm going to open to launch the report locally. Can you see that it has launched Power BI? So that's the major behavioral change that we need to begin to make. The fact that you are not going to start opening PBIX file anymore. After that first deployment, that's even if you use that approach to deploy at first, then subsequent work should always be with this project solution, project folder. And I've already told us you will have to refresh the data. I will explain why that happens a lot. It's not all the time, but I'll explain the logic behind that. Okay, so let's see how we can change things quick and again, do something here, see how it goes upstream. Do something there, see how it comes, back here. Looking at time. Any questions? We're going to skip that doing part since I've done that part at the beginning. I'm going to try to explain to you what's in the project folder. So in the project folder, you are going to have two classes of folders, the data sets and the project reports. Now, these are the defaults. There are more types of entries that will begin to come up depending on what you're doing. But by default, you get these things in there. So let's start with this default, right? And let me move around again. The definition dot PI data set is self-explanatory. As the
definitions of, like, you know what we mean by definition? The artifacts, the all that is there in your data sets that you initially published, right? So I will save the explanation for the next page, but just understand that everything that relates to the data set is stored in one folder, and everything that relates to the reports, in terms of visuals, formulas, relationships, I think some relationships. Okay, but if I go specifically now, for the dataset files, these are the entirety of what is possible to see there. Okay, maybe I'll email this slide to the organizer so that they can provide, because I think I won't have enough time. But I'm going to point out the important things. Number one is that it's not everything you can edit. There are some that right now, because we are still in preview and also Microsoft is not showing if everything is going to be possible to edit. You cannot edit the item cannot be edited. Yeah, diagram layout. There should be one more here. Okay, again, I will send us this. So you can't edit everything. You want to be sure that you double check so that you don't break all of your work and your team's work. Okay. But the common ones you want to touch will be the model.pim. If you have a tabular editor, I can demonstrate that. You can begin to make changes as you want. And yes, to work as long as you don't make an invalid change, because at this stage, you're not going to get any help from Power BI. You can write anything you want. So the model.beam, yes. Another thing you might want to touch here, it's optional. You see these unapplied changes. Whenever you make queries, changes on the Power Query side, and you save without applying, then they get saved here. So it's now left for you, maybe you want that to be also pushed to the Git or not. So the second kind of things you will do here, set your Git signal. What do you want to allow to be pushed up to the repo, and what you want to be ignored all the time? So those are the two things to remember. Similar here too, not everything should be changed. You might need to set some to be ignored by the Git. So that's the key takeaway from here. Because of time, I'm going to now, let's just do something interesting and wrap up with any question. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go on and change the model directly here. This is me trying to brag that I know something that is not so common. I'm going to go to edit. And you see, I want to change the model, the data model, the model.bim file, but I can't. This is grayed out, right? I'm going to go back here, go to my workspace settings, and say I want to do things under the Power BI side. I go to general and I enable data model settings that I want to be able to edit it. Is there a place to save? I think that's what I need to do. Let me just confirm that it remembers my selection. Okay, so that's all. I'm going to come back here, refresh. Go back to edit. Now I can access the data model. Azure Microsoft keeps asking me to sign in. Any questions? Because this is the end of my time and I see I can't do more than this. Yes, sir. Yes, possible. You want to give him a, but yes, technically it's possible, except if maybe the use case might not allow, but yes, you can have one data set and multiple reports. But there will still be different project folders. So that's the tricky part. I can copy, if I have similar data set and all, I can copy a model.bim file or even go work on it somewhere or send it to
someone, an expert somewhere to work on it and send back to me, or copy from one and go put in another report. And if you don't make any things that are illegal changes, they will work. So you can reuse the model file. So I'm going to create, this is interesting, I'm going to create a new table. Most of us don't know you can create a new table right from here. I can create a new table. I'm entering DAX. I'm going to say I want to create a demo table or SQL table. And then I'm going to say, and I get autocomplete, right? I get this intelligence data table. We're going to call because of time, I'm just going to go copy something like, we can modify it quickly because I need to enter a lot of curly braces and we don't have time. I'm going to go to, I usually send myself stuff, so let's just copy this. Okay, so let's change the name. So this is going to be Ralph Kimball. And this is going to be debunker. Okay, so let's just give some names that are familiar to SQL folks. And Kimball is really old. Let's increase in age. I'm going to just commit it, right? So I made a change here. And I can access all my previous DAX formula. I can decide to create an additional stuff here, but time is not going to, I don't want to do too much. So the moment I go back here, it will detect that I've made, it saves it automatically. That's the thing. This does not have like a save. Whatever you enter, it's automatically saved. You can, let's click on source control. Trying to force it to detect that I've done something. But the moment I've done it, it's saved. There's no optional save button. Okay, great. So it has detected I've done something. I'm just going to commit it. And we're going to check if we're going to see the additional table on the local one. As usual, the only funny or inconvenient thing right now is you have to always close it and reopen it. The local one, you have to like close it and reopen it. But before I even do that, I need to again sync, right? So I have to come here. Did we make some changes here that we didn't push up? I can't remember changing anything. And also there will be a conflict there. But let's see. Oh, okay, that's issue. Well, I'm done anyway. Any question? I'm going to just. Yes, sir. It's automatic. So what I mean by it's automatic is that it doesn't allow me to enter Git commands. All it allows me to always do is simply it does the automatic pull. Then you just, commit the changes or update the changes, but it doesn't let me do all those intermediate steps. So automatically it's detecting, it's monitoring the repo. Once there's a change that is not aligning with its own internal, it does that to pull and it lets me see that there's a change log. Okay, I'm going to stop here so I respect my time. Thank you. Okay. Any other question like that?
Introduce you to someone. She wants to know.